Oh, you too, eh? We're going to have trouble with you. Well, let me give you a little advice.
What?
That is a lie. Get something to kill it. What kind of nonsense is this? Now spread out.
Fantastic.
I can't see. What's the matter? I had my eyes closed.
A lot of folks woke up this morning to a twit storm as Twitter was all ablaze, saying that 21 Savage, Atlanta's super thug mumble rapper king, had been deported or was about to be deported by ICE. For those even somewhat familiar with his persona, this was a total shocker, because all we knew him to be was a native of Atlanta. But the earliest reports were calling him a British national, and CNN was contending that he was not who he said he was. Upon further investigation, it's not so far-fetched. Are you familiar with the E for religion? Pause and read this. Also, Nick Valencia of CNN wrote his whole public persona is false. He actually came to the U.S. from the UK as a teen and overstayed his visa. Now, folks that have been studying conspiracy theories for some years remember when Visa was one of the most popular culprits being fingered for potentially being a vessel through which the mark of the beast or RFID implants or some form of tracking would come. If the rapper 21 Savage was really that basic, there would be no reason to look further into this story to try to find occult or esoteric clues as to the true meaning. However, the religion that he claims, as well as his Hebrew names, give us pause and reason to consider if he's only playing a basic role. In addition to his religion and his name is his other claim to fame, having dated one of entertainment business' most used up and popular muses.
So we got you at this place, the Sword and the Stone. 21, man, I want to introduce you to my man, Tony.
How you doing?
The blacksmith, he runs the joint. He gonna show us how to make a knife today. You know, the knife is very important. I know it became a meme, but it really has special meaning to you, right?
It's a lot of deep shit behind it like that I really can't talk about.
You made many knives before?
Nah. We were watching Scarface when we came up with it.
Pitchfork means an assassin or something.
Originally, it was supposed to go on your right hand. My little brother Tay, man, he just went ahead and went and got it in his face. When my little brother died, I was like, shit, I'm finna go get mine.
So you got any questions what we're gonna do here?
Shit, we finna make a knife.
Man, we had to do something real different.
Yeah, it's different.
Your next interview got to be in outer space or something. Your birthday on 2013. I wanted to get to understand why these events helped shape who you are.
It's like damn near like when you ask me that question, it's like you making me relive the moment. Niggas throw me in boxes with everybody and everybody else, like the mumble rap shit and just all this other shit, but it's like, shit I've been through is real shit. Shit I'm rapping about is real shit. This ain't no gimmick. Nigga, I got shot shit 6 times. My best friend died in front of me on my birthday. This shit is real shit. The rapping is easy for me. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand me because they don't really come from where I come from.
You know, we see it go viral. I guess, you know, when you did your interview and said, oh, it's not a cross, it's a knife.
Yeah.
It becomes a meme. Does that stuff bother you or do you get it? Do you know this is how the internet works? Like, how do you feel about when you see these memes passing around?
At first, I ain't get it, cause I just said it's a knife. Like we don't say it's a, we say ISSA. Not everybody use niggas making songs out of it and everything. I mean, I get it. It's really cool because they taking like shit that's pain for me and they making it like cool to society. So it's like, it's really a good thing.
Man, does it trip you out now that the amount that you're in demand? You know, when somebody, let's say Drake reaches out to you for sneaking, and that was a big moment. You guys shot the video.
Going under like the Titanic. Got some head last night and it was...
That trip you out?
Man, all this shit tripping me out, man. I'm a regular nigga from the hood, man. I swear to God, on my kids.
The joke that made him go viral had to do with his explanation to DJ Vlad about his forehead tattoo when he exclaimed and explained, "It's a knife." When in reality, even Stevie Wonder can see that it's a cross. Maybe it's a cross made to look like a knife, and maybe it's no surprise Stevie could see it. Another running joke concerning 21 was how few words he used to answer a question. And maybe that's just so he wouldn't break character or make a mistake and use his real accent. Those misled by the apostate Church of Rome, and also those who are enthralled in the New Age, often place symbols in the middle of their forehead where people believe the third eye resides in the pineal gland. One of the mumble rapper's favorite poses with both fingers pointed at his head like guns, a symbolic suicide pose, perhaps alluding to a self-sacrifice. If he is or was an operative, perhaps his end was a preordained killing off of his character. For most grown folks who have nothing to do with mumble rap, you probably heard of 21 Savage around the same time you heard of 22 Savage. It was their beef on YouTube that brought both of them to most folks' attention, at least for most folks nationwide. And 22 Savage was admittedly a comedian named Funny Mike. And we're supposed to believe that he started off just kind of making fun of 21 Savage and rappers like him, but he got so much in character that he eventually dropped his own gangster rap music. Their beef was too hermetic to not have been theater. They looked like relatives. Not to mention the 22 in the comedian's rap name signified duality, doubled. All they needed was Randy, and it would have made it all that much more real, right? The rap game is more like the WWF than we think.
You've arrived here at a critical moment. So much the better. The tranquility don't have any news value.
Then, of course, there was this big unk. Somebody, come get your granddaddy off of Twitter and Instagram, please. And before you know it, you had athletes and everybody taking on the moniker of savage. It became a positive word as opposed to its true negative connotations and its relation to being uncivilized. So from this basic mumble rapper, huge changes in culture began to shape and take form. Negative changes. This is usually the mark of someone who's not so basic, someone who's only made to appear basic so that they can appeal to the masses and deliver to the masses whatever message it is that the Illuminati, that the elite, that the powers that be want the commoners to believe and receive. Would you look at your teeth? Like I can talk. Further proof that he was more than just a basic mumble rapper or one of the lulz is his pairing with beta 6 kitten, mind control slave Amber Rose, a high witch and favorite concubine of the Boule. And why would a supposed hood vet choose somebody wild like that? The answer is it was part of his ritual introduction that really solidified him as a member of the black elite, which immediately increased his visibility and influence after his inorganic rise to stardom by viral fame, powered by memes and unwarranted interviews. The red, black, and white Church of Satan color theme in this picture says it all. The chessboard pattern always denotes duality and mind control, and James 1:8 dissociation. Do these women strike you as so perfect that the small pool of the most elite men in the entertainment business just can't resist them? The emptiness in their eyes, the windows to the soul, is characteristic of the airhead look of the brainwashed and dissociated. Research MK Ultra beta sex. Outside of heli weird, it is considered taboo, if not at least nasty, for associates to pass around the same sex partners and take each other's sloppy seconds. The Beehive was abuzz after Amber alluded to the fact that Jay-Z referred to her as the mistress with whom he said he had an affair with in one of his corny rhymes. The horns give indication that she is of her father, and although considered beautiful like a flower, she is as deceptive as any other devil, and she accepts that role. Before 21 was ever heard of, here's Amber with Beyonce sporting an inverted cross on her forehead, so before they even met, they shared some of the same philosophical connections. She obviously embraces her devilishness and understands the devilish nature of the business that she's in. Could she have been a handler? And could she have been the one used to help to acclimate 21 Savage to the industry and the mind control within it? Many, including myself, considered 21 Savage to be one of the more likable Luls. The Luls, i.e. Lil Yachty, Lil Pump, Lil Xan, Lil Uzi, is a generic term for the new wave of mumble rappers without the traditional focus on clever, introspective lyrics, wordplay, or delivery. Many of these rappers are not chosen organically by popular demand, but rather are made viral through the internet and through publicity tactics. This new wave of talentless ghetto and not really from the ghetto griots rely on a cookie-cutter look. Oftentimes, they also rely heavily on manufactured backstories which give them the illusion of street credibility even when, as is the case with Lil Pump, they actually have an Ivy League background. The internet takes these implanted false histories and runs with them, making legends of these young, dumb, made men who are idols of the new age and models for the lawless, maniacal, Mad Max future that the world is destined for. The same way that memes were used to popularize the rapper and solidify his fabricated image, memes will be used to put a damper on any real damage these revelations could do to an industry that relies heavily upon the gullibility of its audience in order to keep alive the legends of today's idols and stars. When we consider all of the rappers who are really playing roles, all of the actors who are really playing rappers, Future's mask on, mask off takes on a whole new meaning. The 21 and 21 Savage he claims is a reference to his gang and is likely an extension of an LA-based gang called the Bloods. But in light of the recent stories concerning 21 Savage, another 21 came to mind because it also had to do with some folks lying about their age and their origin in order to fit in with teenagers and in order to lure teenagers in to accepting them. Some of you may have heard of a rapper called Kid Boo, who was recently outed for being a 30-something-year-old who was portraying the role of a teenager or somebody about the age of 21. And it came out that he was a man in his 30s, almost 40 years old. And this reminds me of 21Jumpstreet and this whole idea of portraying this role in order to fit in with young people. From examining some of what is said about the People Gang, a gang allied to and related to the Blood Gang, we can find out that the 21 has to do with the pyramid of Freemasonry. Why do so many entertainers, especially rappers and urban artists, claim affiliation with the Blood Gang set? Now, we've talked many times before about the relationship between the Freemasonry and common street gangs, motorcycle gangs, boys and girls clubs like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. They have many different branches, all leading from one trunk and many roots, all going down deep into the depths of hell. And as you look at a brief history of the Blood Gang, you can pause and read here. You can find out why that gang is more suitable for folks whose sole goal for joining a gang is to use the gang in order to move up in society, using brute force and intimidation tactics. Also to have the gang for protection, in case protection all the way up to and including murder is needed, and also because of the relationship of the Blood Gang to the so-called left-hand path, or the left-hand idealism of ruthlessness and brute force and brutalization as being essential to moving forward a political idea or agenda or even a nation. You can say that the American way is more in line with the philosophy of the Blood Gang, or the Red. If you recall, you have the red pill and the blue pill, both to symbolize the red house and the blue house of Freemasonry, or the Scottish Rite, which is the higher house, and the York Rite, which is the lower house, the blue house. The red house also represents the red side, or the left side, the California or the West Coast energy of fire and heat and of sacrifice, and red being the color of attraction, bringing attention to oneself, and fire and heat, the hotter coast, if you will. The red side, or the red lodge, is the lodge that you have to reach if you really want to become a boss in this world that the devil is the prince of, according to scripture. Now also, of course, you have the third component. The red and the blue together make the purple, or the royal house. Well, the red representing the Aries, or the father god, or the sun god, and the blue representing the mother goddess, or the moon goddess. They come together and they create the star child, who is the royal one that Crowley spoke of many times as Horus, Heru, the false Christ, or the Antichrist of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. And it's these three, this false trinity, is represented by 777 in Crowley's writings. And the 777 is used to represent many different ideals in order to keep the uninitiated in a state of confusion and to keep them mystified. But the basic meaning is that the completion of each idea, the completion of the idea of the sun god, the completion of the idea of the mother goddess, and finally to bring into full fruition the Luciferian kingdom, or the new age, or the new world order, would be the acceptance of, or the completion of, the idea of the Horus, the new age Christ. These old ideas, or this big idea, as Bush Sr. called it, would one day come to fruition in the days, or the age of Aquarius, in these last days that will be as it was in the days of Noah.
High above the Loire Valley is a castle that has enchanted travelers since the Middle Ages. But now travelers of all ages can be enchanted at the Hotel de la Bretagne. But if you go there, remember, bring your nose for wine and your Visa card. Because you can't check out without a glass of Pouilly Fumé. And you can't check in with American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
As with all news stories, but especially during this time of the pagan celebration of Imbolc, after the superb owl, and on the eve of the Grammy Awards, why is this story being pushed? Anytime a story is being pushed, anytime we are aware of what the entertainers or the so-called stars are doing, it is because the powers that be are programming us through that awareness. Visa means to see, and we already talked about what the 3 sevens mean. And even if 21 Savage is only meant to represent the basic idea of an Israelite or a black man in America today, what are the elite trying to say? to all of us by appearing to do him this way.